Now, I love Bungo, but they made a roadmap that wasn't so clear for the future of Destiny, and in today's video, we're going to talk about a lot. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff, and we're even going to go into some things that might release in 2026. So it's going to be a big leak in today's video. It's going to talk about a lot of things. It's going to talk about the episodes. It's going to talk about some big quality of life changes for the game, as there's been a lot of things talking about what will Bungie do in the year of 2025, and how the game will operate, how the game will look, as a lot of people have been talking about Destiny 2 will now be known as either Destiny 3 or just plain old Destiny. The game is going to go through a massive transformation, and there is some things that I want to talk about in today's video. I would love if all of you guys could subscribe, as we are trying to get to 35,000 subscribers. We've been getting a lot of subscribers recently. Thank you so much for all the support. It means a lot. I appreciate and love all of you. Also, be sure to join our Discord server, because that would mean a lot. But let's get right into it. Looking at the roadmap, we got 3 episodes: Echoes, Revenant, and Heresy. Echoes is right now, Revenant is in early October, and Heresy is in early 2025. These episodes will have a different style of how seasons would have operated, and will deliver content more or less a lot more than seasons, and then every 6 weeks is 1 act, and we get 3 acts every sort of episode. We're going to get a lot more content, cinematics, a lot of more stuff that Bungie has talked about. But again, a lot of people are still optimistic on how this will, work, because already in like the first week or so, people are still thinking this is going to be the same thing, similar to seasons, and that we have to give it time. Again, I'm not totally sure how it's going to be delivered differently and how much content we're actually going to get compared to seasons, but time will tell with these episodes. Now we're going to get right into Echoes stuff. So if you don't want to talk about Echoes, if you want this to be sort of a secret, then click off now. So going into Echoes, apparently Maya Sundaresh is going to be the big bad, and it will have a lot of stuff involved with her in sort of this entire seasonal drop, as it's going to be really focused on the Vex on Nessus. Praedyth will also be someone involved inside of this episode in some way. There's some stuff about Venus in the Vault of Glass being mentioned, and we don't know if Venus would return, but it might be that Venus will get like a standalone mission or something, that we go back to the Venus or back to Ishtar Collective in some way, because I heard that was a lot going around. Again, Venus is so much up in the air, because no one really knows if that place will ever come back, but it's definitely something to keep an eye about, because I know a lot of people have been talking if Venus will come back in some way. But it looks like Bungie is going to go full board on Nessus having a huge revamp, and just focus on Nessus getting revamped the entire episode, which is definitely an interesting take, because I didn't think people would actually really care about Nessus anymore. So to have Nessus come back, it looks like for the next 3 acts we're going to expect Nessus to go through a lot of significant changes, and it will be basically very different than what we had got previously in Act 3, and it will probably be changed for the better part of the entire year. Now apparently it's being listed that there's a new dungeon, but with one of the recent leaks that I talked about, and I saw that someone was saying that a new dungeon place marker was on Nessus, apparently that's being deemed to be more or less fake right now. And then looking at the structure, Bungie has only confirmed that we're getting 2 dungeons in year 10. They have not revealed a reprise raid, and we're going to talk about the reprise raid, guys. Don't worry about that. We're gonna talk about it. But looking at it right now, if Bungie comes out and says we're not doing a reprise raid, it's looking like Revenant and Heresy are likely going to receive dungeons and not Echoes. We do know Echoes will get a new exotic mission that will release in Act 3, which won't be until like August 27th, 29th, sometime in late August. And a lot of people are kind of disappointed, because that kind of really puts a disappointment sphere into a lot of people, because people don't want the exotic mission that late on into the season. They kind of want it in like right now or Act 2. And then they were expecting an endgame activity like a dungeon sometime at the very end of Echoes. But if that is not the case, we don't really know what Bungie is planning, because we also got to talk about the 10-year anniversary pack. I made a video on it talking about if it's speculative to come out, and there has been some leaks talking about how Bungie wants to prepare something small for it, and then that would lead to another opportunity for Bungie to drop an endgame activity, hence maybe a reprise raid or a dungeon in that release, and then that would fill out the 4-year pattern. Again, we don't know, but it's something to keep eyes around. So let's get into Revenant. Now, Revenant is going to be very interesting. It's probably the most anticipated release in my mind out of all the 3 episodes. It will be very, hunter sort of master, some nightmare hunter sort of vibe. It will be very cool to see. We saw a little bit in the trailer. We saw some stuff about us being like, again, Baron hunters and all this. And again, it will have a very magical theme. It looks literally like Elden Ring, but in Destiny. We got potions, we got a lot of stuff in it. It's really cool. And the Scorn will be involved, obviously. Vikrul is going to be the big bad in this sort of episode. We don't know if by the end Vikrul will die or will become sort of like, I don't know, have a nice peaceful ending. Again, I don't really know how to expect if the Crow came up and like, because we know Crow will play a huge part in this story. I know a lot of leaks back in the day were saying how Vikrul's storyline would be ended in sort of a way that both of them make amends with themselves and that they will walk away and sort of part ways and not have an alliance, but more just let the Scorn do what they want and sort of thrive on the Moon, and they don't, you know, really struggle with the city anymore. But we're looking at how Vikrul has basically an echo and is basically becoming a powerful force of the darkness now since the Witness's downfall. I don't really think the Vikrul's going to have a nice ending. I feel like he's going to get really into how we actually have to take him down, and it will be very, you know, haunting. And I think a lot of people is going to go through some stuff, especially Crow now being, this is like his first major event since now that he is the Hunter Vanguard, so he has to take lead in charge in, you know, destroying this threat that again he wished for. I believe he wished for the Crow, he wished for Vikrul to happen, so it'll be very interesting to see how that goes. Again, they were talked about how he's in like an awoken sort of tower now. We don't know if that's the watchtower from the Tangled Shore, but it looks like right now, as I'm seeing a lot of leaks, the Tangled Shore will return in some way. I think out of all the destinations to come back for this release, Tangled Shore would be the best choice. I do not think it would be another Dreaming City type deal. I just don't think Vikrul and his Scorn and the whole magical hunter theme, Baron theme stuff is not good for the Dreaming City. We already went there. We already dealt with it all last season. The Dreaming City kind of stuff needs to end for right now. We've been getting way too much Dreaming City stuff. No offense, but I'm kind of done with it. I think the Tangled Shore should come back. It's been a really hot minute since we'd seen that release, and a lot of people loved it. I know a lot of people love Presage there. A lot of people love just the haunting sort of vibe there. When Forsaken came out, a lot of people love that stuff. So I think it's being told that Tangled Shore will return. The size is unknown right now, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on, because I know that is a destination a lot of people actually quite enjoyed, and it's kind of annoyed that they had to take it away. Launching into 2025, this is the most anticipated release for many. Heresy. Now, this is the last episode in the sort of year 10 release, and apparently it's being very focused on the Hive. You know, a new Eldritch force has been awakening, and the Dreadnought is coming back. And this is big because the Dreadnought was actually teased in this to come back in an episode in the same leak. So it is pretty interesting how that was teased. Again, a lot of people could be very speculative and say that the Bungie is going to just maybe release it sometime down the line, because a lot of what Bungie is planning right now is to wanting to take all the content in D1 and put in the D2, and that has actually been a statement that a lot of people have been looking at with these leaks. Bungie really wants to put all Destiny 1 content into Destiny 2 and then expand on Destiny 2 to make it so people don't really put much of Destiny 1 because it's in Destiny 2 and it's way bigger and it's for next gen and it will be a bigger universe. Again, I don't know if that is to be exactly true from Bungie, but it's what it's being implied from many who've been developing the game and who's been looking at it. Now, apparently Zidhu will be a huge antagonist, same with Savathun, and of course Eris will also be a main character in this. It's going to really focus up on how it's like a continuation of Season of the Witch, but really focus up now after the Witness is down, and it's going to be more about secrets. I think Bungie made a tease along the lines of how, you know, with when Forsaken came out and with Season of the Menagerie or Penumbra or whatever you want to call it, the last release of year 2 was more on the secret sort of storyline. That's what they really want Heresy to focus on. And again, it's still in very much production. I don't think it's been nearly as finished as maybe Revenant or Echoes, because Echoes basically done. But right now it's being built on, and it's going to really lead into what's going to come next, and Heresy is going to drag into the Beyond. I know Bungie did tease that we're likely going to be the navigators, and a lot of people have been talking about how we're going to navigate the Dreadnought into new solar systems and stuff like that, and I kind of am really down for that. The Dreadnought coming back could mean a lot of different things. Again, a lot of people would love a dungeon, which is definitely likely going to happen with this release. I can put a lot of more faith in Bungie putting a dungeon within the Dreadnought, as well as maybe the Strike Brothers Strike coming back, which would be really cool. A lot of people have been talking about how many secrets are still in the Dreadnought, and I think Bungie is going to really repurpose it to be that way. And with this destination coming back and with the new activity that they plan, I think majority of the destination would be coming back. Wouldn't expect a small amount, but I'm hoping to expect a little bit more than we got with Season of the Haunted with the Leviathan. So please be, mindful of that. Again, it is only an episode drop, but again, I think Bungie does understand that the Dreadnought is a very, highly praised destination, and bringing only a little bit back would disappoint players. Now looking to the beyond, what we're getting in 2025, 2026, again, this is some things that we should talk about. Now, a new age of Triumph, that is being talked around. It's just what we are, a new age of Triumph. Bungie will bring back a similar old destination vendor where you can craft weapons from the EDZ, Dreaming City, Nessus, Europa, and other destinations. So all the destination weapons that you might have seen all together, and more of a better quality of life change to have it so it's just more or less better for everyone, that they can just go to one person for all the other destinations. A DLC is not planned for 2025. Instead, small content during 2025. As you guys know, Marathon will release. Now, a lot of people is very disappointed in this because because people are also unsure what Bungie is going to do in 2025, as they just put out a codename Frontiers drop, which we have nothing to know about at all, which is really intriguing because, again, it's still right next to this note, it just says unknown. So Bungo might not be even, ready, 100% ready to do what they want to do in 2025 because they have, one, they don't have Heresy done, and two, they're not sure what to do. Final Shape will be the last expansion for Xbox One and PlayStation 4. This makes a lot of sense because obviously the next gen's PlayStation 6? PlayStation 6 and Xbox, I don't even know what Xbox. It's going to probably likely come out in 2026 and 2027, and a lot of studios probably want to take accustomed to that they want to get on the new consoles, because of gaming life. I don't really need to explain that to you guys. You guys know. The next Saga codename is Survival. Now, this is actually a codename that has been put out because I know there's the codename Payback, which has been up for Destiny or another Destiny 3 or something. So I don't know if that has any relevance to Survival, but that's sort of what the codename for the next Saga is. Now, the next Saga is something we really need to be very optimistic about because that is basically in its rough writing stages right now. I do not think Bungie's exact names for these expansions are finalized. Bungie will rename Destiny 2 to Destiny 3 or only Destiny. This is something that Bungie wants to do. Next Saga, again, is completely unknown. Bungie would update their engine in 2025. This is what we talked about back in 2022. Bungie really wants to update their engine to just update it to handle, again, more probably in the game and for the players. Probably make a lot of things a lot more smoother, like the servers. So a lot of stuff to keep that in mind. Now, looking into that, we got some quality of life stuff, and we're also going to talk about some really interesting stuff as well. So Gambit and Dares will be vaulted to a new place in the game. There will be one new PvP map per season, or per episode in 2024. Again, that could be very speculative. I could expect maybe one new PvP map next in Revenant and Heresy. I don't know about now. Again, Bungie has not really shown a lot with episodes yet, so it's definitely, still, you gotta be optimistic about that. More rewards for reaching Ascendant in PvP, more depth weapon sources, a 10th anniversary celebration later in 2024, no expansion in 2025. Bungie might go back to releasing larger seasons DLCs like Warmind House of Wolves for 2025. That's where I'm kind of leaning, guys, to be honest with you. Warmind House of Wolves, that's where I'm sort of leaning towards when it comes to what Bungie will likely do in 2025, because again, we don't have another 3 episodes planned for 2025 just yet, and if they don't do that, then 2 large DLCs might be something they'll likely do. Very high chance that they will be completing the Mithrax, Aramis, and Xe'Thas storylines in 2025, again, very likely. A trilogy of expansions is planned for 2026 and beyond. Drifter will be a large part of the later of the story here, and will explore some loose ends in the lore, more emphasis on exploration and mystery. Marathon, at this leak said Marathon was going to release in the very last quarter of 2024. Obviously, they pushed it back to 2025, which might have been a, affecting point here with what we're going to get in 2025 for Destiny. So with Marathon releasing, again, we got to put emphasis that it's going to be a definitely different odd year, as that's another whole game that they're putting a lot of resources into. More Marathon stuff, however, will come to D2. Matter is apparently a high fantasy sci-fi open world RPG. Again, I don't really know too much about Matter. I thought that actually was cut. I think it was told that it was cut sometime in 2022, 2023, and they were working on something else, or they moved some of those resources off onto Marathon. Again, we don't really know what happened with Matter. I don't know if Bungie's going to, go fully complete with that. Again, they will try to bring back old planets and old locations at some point in these episodes and in the future. Again, I told you, Bungie's plan is to bring a lot of stuff back from D1 into D2. Again, updating their engine, looking at no DLC, but they did say episodes will try to provide old locations from Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 revamp. Venus, Tango Shore, and Dreadnought, but at a reduced rate. So it is, again, very possible that Venus comes back if you are curious. They have plans to support D2 to old consoles, but some other Bungie members are not happy with this. Most of them are devs because they can't expand Destiny 2 to a greater way. Again, Wrath in the Machine, but different, is showing to arrive in Revenant. Very interesting there. Bungie just hates Rise of Iron and hates Wrath in the Machine so much. You could talk to Forcer about it. So looking at that, there's three sort of ways, or actually four sort of ways that Bungie could do this. Bungie 1 could release Wrath of the Machine in Revenant. Everyone would be happy with Siva coming back. Maybe a Siva subclass. Yes, I'm really landing on the copium here. And they could do it. 2, they would release Wrath of the Machine, but in a different way, so it wouldn't be really called Wrath of the Machine. It would be more or less something with maybe, you know, Stasis Guardians, maybe the House Salvation of some way could be something that they could do in Wrath of the Machine, but it really wouldn't be like that. Again, it would be more likely to show about Stasis and its atmosphere with the Fallen. 3, they don't do that, and they release the Leviathan, which we're going to talk about just now. And lastly, they might not even do a reprise raid. So there's those four possibilities. Now, looking at the third possibility, Leviathan coming back. Now, Leviathan will be likely to somewhat come back if Bungie went with this approach. Their new content would contain a Leviathan pack, and it would be added like the Derelict Leviathan as a selectable destination in the Director next to the moon, and will include the Duality Dungeon and the content and area that was in Season of the Haunted. There will be an Egregore-infested tribute hall, since the area is already present in the Duality Dungeon. Unsure if we would have to spend Brightness again or it will be refunded. The Crucible Emperor's Respite Crucible map will return with Egregore. After a while, the Leviathan pack will be added for free with revisited mechanics and Egregore-infested look. It will be simplified from the original version to be more linear, no underbelly, for example, but most of the old gear will be re-added. Reprised Leviathan weapons will also look twisted like haunted weapons. So a lot of people have been very controversial on this, because I know this was actually been put out there by just people just intrigued about what the other reprise raid would be, and I think a lot of people is not a fan of this idea, because they're basically cutting out the underbelly, which was one of the most iconic things with Leviathan. So cutting that out and putting the Leviathan raid as it is, and just maybe some Egregore and some of the weapons and armor, I don't know how people would feel about that. Again, we saw Bungie bring back Frozen, and a lot of people actually really, found a Bungie because it was actually pretty good. People praised it. They loved the new they got amazing weapons, they got the armor that they wanted, and they got Necrochasm, and they felt like it was a real challenge. Again, I don't know what people would think here if they took out a majority of the other part of the raid and gave it for what it is with Egregore. I don't know how much Egregore will get people excited, but that's what people are planning on looking at. Now, here is another big thing. This is the trilogy of expansions planned with their code names. Now, this is for 2026 and beyond as of right now. Again, it's really to be determined. Again, the code names really can't tell us much, but the episode 1 codename is Chaos, the episode 2 codename is Path, and the episode 3 codename is Relativity. Again, Bungie loves the 3 episode drops. They love how they can make 3 expansions planned, and then they can develop a story over time. Of course, Bungie changed a lot of it with the Lion Dark Saga at the end. Bungie really made it a 5-year sort of trilogy with how they did, of course, Shadowkeep, Beyond Light, Witch Queen, Lightfall, Final Shape. A lot in Shadowkeep and Beyond Light, however, really weren't teasing up to the Witness. Again, you could make the argument that the Witness was really behind the scenes in Shadowkeep, and yes, it was. We did talk to it, but I do think that a lot of the story really kickstarted with the Witch Queen and with Lightfall and Final Shape, even though I hate Lightfall and Lightfall and Final Shape. It's really because Bungie really did cooking in that at the time in the kitchen, but it is something that Bungie does. Like, I think they do like 3 expansions to tell a nice story. I don't know if that next saga would be that. Now, the pitch story right now, this is like super bad, but it really just emphasizes that we'll explore the Vex and 9 and end our conflict with Zero Wrath. That's it. That's the pitch story. There's nothing with that. Planets will have very alien life. Black Hive fortresses on icy planet, could be Pluto. To go back to the original D1 roots of not really understanding everything, with big emphasis on exploration. Only minor concepts and pitches exist. Expansion 1 will begin development in 2024. That's it. That is basically it, and that is just not anything that we can really grasp at the time that will get us to think, oh my god, this is how the next saga will play out, because these are just little nitbits, and again, it really just shows that this is just another expansion for the Light and Dark Saga in a way, but not really the next saga. We want the next saga. I feel like a lot of people want that. I don't know how people feel about standalone expansions. People already are unsure about standalone episodes, so people really want to get really into the next saga, I think, after Bungie cooks in the engine for some time and sees what they can do. Now, there will be no info on a new subclass. The team is focusing on expanding what they already have before adding new stuff, but it is there. So we also have to keep in mind that a new subclass is also on the horizon in some way. Yes, Strife is definitely coming sometime, I feel like, in the near future. Again, I don't know when Strife's gonna come out. I kind of lost all my faith, but I'm still on the copium train for Strife. Give it another year or two, we'll see it, don't you guys worry. But yeah, that really covers out all we got in today's video. There's a lot of stuff here that really, you know, a lot of people are very intrigued about, and we just have to wait and see what Bungie will do. The Reprise raid, the dungeons is definitely a top 4. How the episodes will go is definitely something big we got to think about. How Bungie will operate in 2025, how Bungie will operate in the future, how Marathon will go. There's so much, and how basically Destiny will actually play along in such, you know, this time, because it's been a game that's been out there for almost like 10 years at this point. So it's definitely intriguing. We gotta see what Bungie does. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts. I love you guys. Bye bye.